didn't like the way the bevel lines were coming out on this Bowie from freehanding on the belt grinder. I can get away with it with some smaller bevels, but the size of this knife just makes it hard to keep a straight bevel line. I have trouble with that even on some of the smaller knives. But once they're sanded out now, they don't look, you don't notice it so bad. But I really want this one here to have nice crisp bevel lines all the way across there. Because it's kind of a special knife, being a bullet hole Bowie. So that's why we're doing these bevels with a file to get them nice and crisp. And I started doing them on the belt grinder, but they just weren't coming out even. I don't have a nice straight tool rest to where I could use a beveling jig. So until I can get a better tool rest and what have you, this is the best way I have of making sure these bevel lines are nice and crisp. And you can see that that's going to be nice and straight when it's done. Been working on this little adventure here called the bullet hole Bowie. I think the bullet holes came out looking fairly cool. I mean, obviously, outside of actually shooting it with a 9mm or something, you're not going to get those bullet holes to look exact, but I think they came out pretty decent. They'll look all right. So that part came out pretty good. The overall shape of the knife I like. It's going to be with the pommel and everything on it, pretty close to an 18-inch knife overall, tip to stern here. We've got a 12-inch blade. My bevels weren't coming out very well. This is an awful long knife to freehand for me. I have a trouble freehanding my blades anyway on the bevels, but on a shorter knife, it's a short enough stroke, I can kind of keep them pretty straight, and once they're sanded out, you know, any imperfections in the grind lines, you don't see them that well. But on this one here, it was pretty bad. So we had to file these bevels to get those bevel lines straight in there. As you saw, I showed you filing them, and filing them straightened them up pretty good, but left some pretty heavy file marks in the bevels. So we took a Scotch-Brite pad on my angle, a little die grinder, pneumatic die grinder, and we kind of knocked those file marks out of there so it won't be quite so hard to hand sand. And this is going to be a full tang knife with a guard, which is kind of crazy. Usually if you do a guard on a full tang knife, you do an integral guard or something like that. But I decided after the fact that I was going to put a guard on this knife. I was just going to do the full tang handle like I normally do and leave it at that. First attempt at making a guard, you saw me forging out a piece of steel. It was a piece of leaf spring. Once I got it all shaped on the grinder and everything squared up like I wanted it, in the light I could see a lot of little stress fractures and stuff in it, so I couldn't use that. I've made a pretty fancy guard, but it wasn't coming out even and things were kind of messed up. It was too thick. So I made a third attempt, and that's this one. And trying to use the little mill that you clamp to the benchtop drill press. It's not real accurate. My lines are coming out, you know, the thing wants to pull off to one side kind of when you're running it. It's not real sturdy. It might work for certain applications, but for this it just, so I ended up having to make this one where we drilled the holes and then I filed it out as you saw. But that fits right up there pretty tight, so there'll be no mechanical pins in this. Then I was just going to leave it at that with a guard, but then I decided that it made the knife look off. So I took this little piece of acrylic that I had made. I was testing pores and colors and things in the bottom of cups, of plastic cups, and then I'd pop it out of the cup and leave it up there in the windowsill in the knife room. And I grabbed this one because I like that blue color, and I shaped it up pretty good. And made that to fit up against the guard. So once that's all polished up, it'll look like this, but it's kind of rough from me grinding it. And then I didn't want to weld a bolt to the back of this or something, so I ended up, you know, the tang used to just be my normal end of my pommel here, but so I put these shoulders in here and ground this down. And I made this little jewel. And again, I tried to use that mill. And it does, I mean, it got it in there pretty good, but I had to take a Dremel and a bunch of little Dremel tools to get it right. But so that'll fit over that like so. And of course, it's not going to be this long. We'll cut a bunch of this off at the bottom of it, but this was the piece of steel that I was working with. And it's a little wider on one side, so we're going to have to take and shave this side down on the belt grinder to get it even. But so that will go on there, and like so, and we'll pin it like that. Then of course we'll have our handle in between here. I may have to, these pinholes that I drilled here are pretty close to the ends, so I may have to re-drill my pinholes, but we can look at all that when we start working more on the handle here a little later. This isn't going to get hardened anyway. I had to make a new quench tank because this blade is so long that I wouldn't be able to quench it in my my little ammo can quench tank that I normally use. So I went to the plumbing store and bought some PVC and what have you, and built a little stand and made that quench tank so we can dip this down in there. That thing is probably 24 inches, 26 inches deep. So same oil. We'll still use the canola oil like I always have. We'll preheat it and quench this thing. This is 01 tool steel. This is not my normal 5160. I bought this bar of 01 tool steel probably about a year ago, wanting to make a big knife, and it's taken me that long to kind of decide what I wanted to do with it. So, but here we are, bullet hole Bowie. We're gonna have to split this into at least 2 videos. I think there's just too much going on with the handle work and everything. So in this video, we're gonna we'll anneal the knife. We'll normalize it. Even though I didn't forge this out of, you know, on the anvil, all the manipulating with the grinder and all of that creates heat and different things in the blade. So I still, even if I'm doing a stock removal like this, I still like to normalize it a couple of cycles, anneal it and everything before I quench it, and just to try to make sure we don't get warp in our blade or anything. So that's where we're at. We're going to do that. The rest of this video, we'll get this thing normalized, annealed, and quenched and hardened, and then we'll probably end this video there, and we'll move on to the handle and the finish work and the sanding and all of that in the next video. So stick with me, and let's go play. Here we go. We got a good heat treat. Things seem to file real well. Might have a tiny warp in it. We might have a little bit of a warp kind of coming this way. We'll take care of that when we temper it. But it come out good and hard, and so it should hold an edge real well. Now this knife's 01 tool steel. I think I told you I normally work with 5160, but I bought this bar of 01 tool steel like a year ago, and I've been waiting to figure out what I wanted to do with it, and here it is. So, bullet hole Bowie, everybody. So I'll clean this up a little bit so I can see my colors when I temper it for 2 cycles at 400 degrees. 2 cycles an hour and 15 minutes a piece, somewhere in there should do it, and get us that nice straw color. So there it is. Gonna have to make this 2 videos. Sorry about that. I know my content's a little few and far between, but I just work so many hours at work. The things I have to do around home, I don't have the kind of time to devote to knife making and making videos like I would like to. But we're almost, we're probably halfway done with this knife. So we'll call this part 1, and in the next video we'll get doing finish work, hand sanding, cleaning it up, and getting our handle put together, and doing the finish work on this knife, get her sharpened up, and it'll be done. We're going to also make a sheath for this knife. I may video that. I haven't videoed any of the sheaths I've made yet because I'm not very good at it. Well, I have to do things over so many times, it takes me a long time to get one done. So, but I think I'm getting it down pretty good, so we'll probably video making this sheath too for this knife for the whole project. So thanks for being here, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Be careful when you're working out in your shop. Wear your safety gear, safety glasses, shield. Wear a mask when you're grinding. Just be safe and be sure to keep all your fingers and your eyesight and all of that good stuff. So I appreciate y'all watching. I'm up to 400 subscribers, so it's taken me 3 years, which because probably of not putting out as much content as I would like to, but we're getting there, and probably do some type of a giveaway at 500. That'll be a pretty good milestone. So 100 more subscribers, and we'll probably give away an EDC knife or something. We'll make an everyday carry with a sheath and give that away. Just a small EDC knife, maybe you know, 4 or 5 inch blade, something like that. Just something you can just carry on your hip daily. So I appreciate y'all. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Leave a little button right down in here. Press that, subscribe, and then click on that little bell and you get notified when I upload another video. So take care of yourselves, everybody. Really appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one.